All right, it is Tuesday, July the 8th, 2025. I'm Christopher Heath, and this is News 6 Extra. Yes, I'm back in the News 6 Extra chair. If you weren't paying attention over the 4th of July weekend, well, we had a little bit of an issue in the greater Central Florida area. Apparently, some people were out doing donuts in the middle of an intersection and, kind of making a bit of a commotion out there. But that wasn't all that they were up to, according to FHP. One of the drivers was actually shooting out fireworks as they were doing donuts in the middle of the intersection. Check out this video. Mark Lehman reports.
FHP here. We have one spinning in the intersection right now, shooting Roman candles outside the passenger window.
A frightening situation unfolding on Friday. As most 4th of July fireworks were wrapped up for the night, the Florida Highway Patrol says a takeover was happening in the streets. What goes through your mind just seeing that video?
The fact that we have someone that's taking over this intersection, doing donuts, launching fireworks out of their car, that's a recipe for disaster. That is extremely dangerous.
Lieutenant Tara Crescenzi says investigators first learned about the street takeover through social media posts. FHP and the Orange County Sheriff's Office then worked together to find the people involved, beginning in Paramore. Those fireworks could have gone and hit anyone.
Anyone. It might not just be the people that were spectating. It could be a building, it could be a business, it could be a pedestrian.
It's here along Gore Street where you can clearly see the tire tracks from those burnouts that happened at Paramore Avenue. We also saw remnants of fireworks. In the grass, we found a discarded Roman candle that's possibly connected to what happened Friday night.
Westbound on Holden.
Troopers eventually caught up to the driver they say was doing circles in that intersection. 20-year-old Roderick Baez was arrested for stunt driving and involvement in a street takeover. Another person was also tracked down. Troopers say 33-year-old Anthony Colon promoted and was selling alcohol at the event without a license.
So this is jail time. I mean, both of these people took the ride to jail. And if you are involved in these incidents, know that you will be spending the night in jail.
Crescenzi says the takedown should serve as a warning for anyone planning events like this in the future, and if you're caught watching a street takeover, you could also end up paying for it out of your own pocket. What can someone face if they're attending one of these events?
If you are just standing there watching this or filming it, it's a $400 fine.
In Orange County, Mark Lehman, News 6.
And one of the things to keep in mind as you watch that, if you think about what you just saw there with the people out there and, watching what's going on, but also from above, FHP, the Orange County Sheriff's Office, they have technology to both find these things, as they're happening, but then also track down the drivers. So, street takeovers, doing donuts in the middle of the intersection, firing off fireworks, probably not the best use of everyone's time. Well, for the last several weeks, we have been watching the saga unfold of Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez. Of course, he was suspended from the job, but several other people have been caught up in this investigation that spans at least 2 counties. One of them, his estranged wife, who bonded out of jail on Monday afternoon. Angie Casada reports.
I'm Angie Casada in Lake County, where the attorney for Robin Severance Lopez says she's now focusing on building her defense. She also says that this is a relief for her client after a 2-week battle of waiting to get her bond approved. But she walked out of this jail last night.
What do you say about the allegations against you that you moved money?
After 14 days in custody.
Are you innocent? Are you innocent of these charges?
Robin Severance Lopez left the Lake County jail Monday night without saying a word. The 50-year-old posted a $400,000 bond just hours after a judge ruled her funds came from legal sources, a condition put in place following her arrest on June 23rd.
It's been a constant battle through 2 weeks to try and get to this moment, so I'm really feeling very satisfied that she's finally going to be home with her child again.
Yard described her client's time behind bars as extremely isolating.
She's in a small cell by herself all day and doesn't get to come out and have recreation or communication with others. I mean, she's just really in a tiny room just waiting for all of this to happen.
Severance Lopez is accused of moving money from an illegal gambling operation across several bank accounts. It's the same operation that led to the arrest of now suspended Sheriff Marcos Lopez. He's accused of using his position to shield the operation while taking thousands in cash. The case remains under wraps with a 255-page affidavit still sealed while one co-defendant remains at large. Now, one of the bond conditions is she can't have any contact with Marcos Lopez. Her attorney, though, says that's not going to be an issue at all because they've been living separately for years now. Reporting in Lake County, Angie Casada, News 6.
And much the same as with the Marcos Lopez case with Robin Lopez, the money does have to go before the judge and explain that it is clean, for lack of a better term. This is pretty standard when we're dealing with these kind of racketeering cases. One of the things the court are going to look at is say, where did the money come from? Can you prove that it did not come from illegal sources, did not come from untoward sources, and therefore is it clean for us to use? That takes a little bit of time to prove. That's why you saw the sheriff in jail for as long as he was, and that's why you saw Robin in jail as long as she was. We now turn our attention to Central Texas. Of course, about 35 first responders from Central Florida are now assisting in the rescue and recovery efforts in and around Kerr County and Kerrville, Texas. The floodwaters there killing more than 100 people and several dozens more still unaccounted for. CBS News' Karen Hua explains.
Rescue teams continue to search for anyone who might still be alive along the Guadalupe River in central Texas. They're using drones equipped with thermal sensors to try to spot any survivors.
I can assure you we will not stop until this mission is complete.
State and local officials are coming under scrutiny over the planning for storms as deadly as this one. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick told CBS that Texas could fund warning sirens, and he thinks legislators can take it up this month.
So had all those sirens gone off, maybe that would have sparked people to say, we have a massive disaster like 5 minutes away.
Hard-hit Kerr County is part of an area known as Flash Flood Alley, but it's never invested in a siren warning system.
Everyone would agree in hindsight, if we could go back and do it again, we would evacuate particularly those in the most vulnerable areas, the young children in the cabins closest to the water. We would remove them and get them to higher ground.
Along with the destruction here and crushing human loss, residents are also sharing stories of survival. With the Guadalupe River rising, Christian Fell says he struggled to find higher ground as the water rose all around him Friday morning.
I realized the window was broken, so I swam through the window and I was standing on that meter box right there for the next 3 hours.
Among the rubble that used to be Camp Mystic, Fletcher Cordell searched for anything left behind by his 11-year-old daughter, Olivia.
She had her charm bracelet laid out, and she's been asking about that a lot.
Olivia survived the deadly flooding, rescued by helicopter. Cordell says she's only starting to process the disaster, and the bracelet is important to her.
I'll stay here as long as I can till it's, found, and if I don't find it, I'll come back.
Hundreds of girls were at Camp Mystic early Friday morning when the floodwaters started raging. About a dozen campers are still missing. Karen Hua, CBS News, Kerrville, Texas.
And once again, we have 35 first responders from the Central Florida region that are currently assisting with rescue and recovery efforts in Central Texas. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back. News 6 Extra. Turning our attention to southern Brevard County, the debate is on right now over where to put a fire station. A decades-old fire station is set to be replaced, but the question as to where to put the new one has residents asking some questions because one of the suggestions is to put it in a park that currently houses a playground. James Sparvero reports.
I'm your Brevard County community correspondent, James Sparvero. I'm in Melbourne, where Jimmy Moore Park has been here for decades. There's a playground, though, that could be the future site of a new fire station. A neighbor who I talked to, though, is really opposed to that idea.
So alternative sites that were wrongly rejected is the main reason, other than the aesthetic value of trees being cut down. The city council are undermining the reason this park was built in the first place.
Do you trust when the city says they'll make upgrades to the park?
Regardless of how many upgrades they make, they're not increasing the square footage of the usable park.
All right, so at the current fire station at Sarno and Wickham, I'm joined by Chief Chuck Bogle. So Chief, I think everyone would agree when you have an old building like you have here, you need to give your firefighters the best to continue to do their jobs. I think what some of these neighbors are concerned about, though, why pick part of the park?
Well, the reason we picked part of the park is we did an extensive look at the surrounding area. I know some of them, they don't want the station at that particular location. They want us to put it west of Wickham Road, which we've looked at, that it just doesn't suit our purposes to the best as this particular location does.
Okay, and like Chief, our neighbor we talked to, Mark, will be at tomorrow's city council meeting, and then on the 22nd when the city council takes it up for a final debate. What else do you plan to tell the council?
If you build a park behind my house, my property value goes up. If you build an 18,000 square foot, 40-foot tower building, my property value goes down.
We'll let you know Tuesday night how the meeting goes. In Melbourne, Brevard County, I'm your community correspondent, James Sparvero, News 6.
Well, as anyone who's ever driven through Winter Park or perhaps run a 5K, maybe even a 10K through Winter Park and the brick streets, you know that the historic charm of some of their neighborhoods is really what the hallmark of Winter Park is. It's not just the outside of the building, it's the way the neighborhoods all blend together, and many neighbors are now binding together to preserve some of that charm. News 6 anchor Ginger Gadsden reports.
I'm News 6 anchor Ginger Gadsden in Winter Park, where history isn't just preserved, it is lived in. The city is home to charming neighborhoods where century-old homes sit next to modern renovations, and a growing number of homeowners are embracing this historic idea. On this quiet Winter Park street, nestled among the trees, sits a century-old home and a designing woman with a vision.
Originally there was a hall that went all the way back this way, and then closets.
Tanya Glatt fell in love with this 1925 home in the Oren Manor neighborhood. Where most saw problems, a leaky roof, ruined floors, she saw potential.
I'm an artist and I like character, and you just don't get the character that you get from a historic home.
Room by room, Glatt stripped the house down to the studs.
Every wall came down.
There isn't an inch inside that hasn't been touched, but there's one part she couldn't change, the outside.
That's a no-no.
That's because Winter Park recently made its historic preservation rules more strict.
Historic preservation is really important to Winter Park. You know, it says it's unique from other communities and helps us preserve our charm, our sense of place.
Allison McGillis heads up historic preservation for the city. She says preserving Winter Park's charm starts with protecting the homes that give it character. And homeowners here are proud of their historic designation. There's even a month dedicated to recognizing these old gems.
Park Ave really wouldn't be what it is today, and our quaint little neighborhoods wouldn't be what they are today without those historic homes.
Those stricter rules do allow for interior upgrades, but keeps the quaint exteriors intact.
I think that's often something that's not as well known, that you can make upgrades to the inside all you'd like. It's just about preserving the outside, because that's what you see from the street.
This went all the way through. And there was, you could get into the master bedroom.
It's like a different house.
It is a different house. See, that's the fun of doing one of these projects. is being able to imagine that it can be a diamond in the rough.
Oh, this is really a jewel you've turned it into. Glatt's Diamond in the Rough renovation started 2.5 years ago, and it has been no small task.
Every bit of trim work you see in here is new.
It has been long and costly, but Glatt says it's worth it.
It's a lot of work and it's very expensive, especially in today's market.
To help ease the burden, the city offers some financial support.
The city offers grants to help pay for potentially costly renovations to preserving a historic home. You know, it's a matching grant.
From the street, it looks like history. Step inside and you'll find modern elegance on full display. Glatt's passion proves what Winter Park is quietly preserving. Sometimes what's old is worth saving. And some of those stricter rules include if you demolish a home without permission, you have to rebuild that home exactly as it was using authentic materials. In Winter Park, Ginger Gadsden, News 6.
And before we go, one quick check of the weather with Samara.
Hey there, everyone. I'm News 6 meteorologist Samara Kokinas. Tuesday started out on a muggy note, right? Temperatures in the mid-70s, but you felt the humidity the second you stepped outside, and that's going to be the case this afternoon, making it feel extra hot. Look at the radar right now. Nothing on the radar just yet. All that will change, though, as we head into the second half of the day. Let's walk you hour by hour with the clouds and rain forecast. We'll start the clock here at 11. You'll notice that the clouds continue to billow up as the day goes on, producing a few showers and maybe a few isolated thunderstorms late in the afternoon through the early evening. I believe it's going to happen primarily along the I-4 corridor. Also could stretch back into the turnpike into Osceola County, maybe even reaching areas to the north and west that this particular model isn't quite showing, with a few outflow boundary storms kind of firing up along the other storms that fire up this afternoon. So I think most of the rain will be gone by about 8 or 9 o'clock, if not before that. And high temperatures today, though, are really going to feel sizzling hot because of the continued humidity. So what we're looking at for your daytime highs today, once it flips over into that graphic that you'll see in just a moment, we're going to be seeing temperatures in the lower 90s. That is typical for this time of year, folks. We're not talking about anything abnormal at this point in time. But I can tell you that highs in the mid or to lower 90s are still going to feel like the triple digits out there. Why? Because of that humid air mass. And then later on tonight, we'll still have a few clouds around, but I think those clouds will begin to clear out and we'll have partly cloudy skies at times, then clearing out by early tomorrow morning with lows right around the mid to lower 70s, with the exception of the Brevard County area where you see those overnight lows in the upper 70s. Now looking at the 7-day forecast, I know, right? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're definitely racking it up in the rain department. So what we're going to see are rising rain chances well into the end of the work week, going into the weekend. Highs in the low 90s continue to feel like the triple digits, with those overnight lows staying in the mid 70s. So yeah, just pack your rain gear. That's your best bet. You might have to use it each afternoon, especially tomorrow going into the rest of the work week.
You know, there's something wrong when you're looking at the 90s and you're also looking at 50-60% chances of rain. It's still warm and only dropping down to 75 at night. Central Florida weather, what can you do? All right, thank you for joining us on News 6 Extra. I'm Christopher Heath. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a good one.